You tend to think of conservative culture war issues in schools as something that largely happens in Colorado's suburban or rural districts. But there is a parent in Denver public schools who's now suing to put up heterosexual pride flags next to rainbow pride flags. Also, he wants $3 million. Here's Marshall Zellinger with that.
They are outside every public school, and on a breezy day, they get your attention. The flags on display inside Slavin School, a K-8 Denver public school, those got the attention of a parent now suing the school district. Nathan Feldman filed a federal lawsuit saying his third-grade kids have their constitutional rights deprived because there are pride flags on display outside of classrooms, and the school has refused his request to put up an additional flag.
Yeah, it makes me angry.
Rebecca Lunsford is the parent of a Slavin's first and second grader. She found out about the lawsuit last night.
I am a mother of 2 minority children, so I do have a lens that looks at our school through that version of equity and inclusion.
In the lawsuit, Feldman makes clear he is not asking for the pride flags to be removed. He's asking for this one to be put up as well. What is this flag? In an email to the district around this time last year, he wrote, quote, "I would like DPS permission to follow diversity, equity, inclusion to display a straight pride flag with 2 gender symbols on it in front of my children's second grade classrooms at Slavin's DPS."
They're already included. They're not being marginalized by not having a straight pride flag up there.
Megan Bishop is a constitutional law attorney who points out a public school is government funded and likely protected.
The reality of the situation is that when it is a government entity, they're allowed to pick what messages they want to convey as a public message.
In 2020, the DPS school board passed a resolution saying it, quote, supports the right of its employees to post in their classrooms a rainbow flag or other sign of support for LGBTQIA plus students or staff because the symbols are consistent with the district's equity-based curriculum. The legal challenge would be different if the school were preventing the children from having a flag displayed, for instance, on their backpacks.
I don't think that they'll prevail. I think that they are conflating the difference between private speech and public speech, and that's ultimately what it's going to come down to.
If the point is to be inclusionary of all people, no matter how you show up, there's ways that we can all work together to get to that final endpoint without adding layers of visual iconography that stand for exclusion.
You did not hear from Nathan Feldman, because he did not respond to my voicemail or 2 texts from 10 a.m. and again around 2 p.m. The law firm representing him is from Washington, D.C., and on its website promotes lawsuits against President Biden, every secretary in the Biden administration, as well as freedom of religion and COVID-19 vaccine mandate lawsuits. The analogy, Kyle, that Megan Bishop, the attorney, helped me with is that the governor could choose to put a pride flag on the Capitol and refuse to put this straight pride flag up. That's the school district in this analogy. But if there were a rally on the steps of the Capitol, the people there could have a straight pride flag, and the governor could not restrict that. That would be, in this analogy, the students in their backpacks.
Today I learned there's a straight pride flag.
I swear, it took me 5 or 10 minutes to figure out, because it wasn't listed right away in the lawsuit, what it was referencing.
I guess I got to go buy one, right? I mean, I don't know. All of this is exhausting. Marshall, thank you. Local governments are in a mad dash to set their budgets for next year. It's a rush made more frantic after voters rejected Democrats' Prop HH tax plan. Then Democrats passed some similar legislation in a special session. Well, now the governor is leaning on local governments to lower property tax increases on their own. Special taxing districts have until January 10th to figure out their mill levies and to set their budgets. Mill levies essentially just determine how much you pay in property taxes. Because of the changes made during the special session, every taxing district will get fewer dollars than if the legislature had made no changes. But they're likely to get more funding than they got last year. The governor, who has no power over local governments, is saying to local governments that they should lower their mills, which would reduce their budgets and reduce property tax bills.
They know what the state did. They know the baseline of relief. They know if there's any backfill for their special district. And how can we strike that balance so that the increases aren't arbitrary based on how much homes went up, but instead reflect the cost of doing their core function as a public entity.
The legislation passed by Democrats is going to fully backfill funding to school districts as well as fire, ambulance, and health districts. Parks and library districts won't know if they're going to get those additional funds until after they set their mill levies. And Coloradans, folks who own property, you will not know what your property tax bill looks like until January 17th at the earliest. Governor's expected to speak tonight at the opening of a global conference for Israel in Denver. Police say that they are increasing security there, expecting protests. The conference is hosted by a nonprofit called the Jewish National Fund. More than 2,000 people are expected in town for this 4-day conference at the convention center. The JNF says the conference will pay tribute to the victims of the October 7th attack by Hamas and talk about the rise in anti-Semitism. A group of organizations called the Colorado Palestinian Coalition is going to protest there. They say that this group supports ethnic cleansing and genocide. Those protesters also went before Denver City Council this week. They also shut down the street outside President Biden's hotel when he stayed in Denver. The governor's spokesman has previously said that the governor will work to make sure that efforts to intimidate people at that conference do not succeed. We have our journalists inside and outside the event tonight preparing reports for 9 News at 9 and 10. Can government employees hide public business from the public by using their personal cell phones? A judge in Denver says no. The judge sided with 9 News when we sued to get access to dozens of text messages sent by city employees. We wanted to learn more about what happened behind the scenes at Red Rocks on the night when 100 people got injured during a big hailstorm. The judge's ruling gave our Steve Sager a look inside the city's emergency response.
Standing still and running.
On a calm day, Red Rocks is a beautiful place.
I think there's something about the juncture of music and nature that is just fascinating.
But that juncture can get gnarly too. Back in June, nature was freaking out the venue director of Red Rocks. But he wasn't at the amphitheater. He was playing baseball. Texting his boss around 9 o'clock, I was catching, so I started telling the umpire I'm afraid of lightning. Red Rocks director Tad Bowman told the then director of Denver's Department of Arts and Venues, Ginger White Brunetti, that was enough to call his baseball game. He told her Red Rocks had been on delay because of weather, but everything was all clear. Moments later, he writes, update, very bad storm heading their way. Possibly canceling.
And it all started coming down and everyone was running to seek shelter immediately.
Kaya Olson was one of the thousands in the crowd that night, now reacting to the text messages the city didn't want to give us. Around 9:40 that night, Denver Police Sergeant Todd Erickson texts Bowman from the medic room. We are helping medics, so you know the injuries are very minor. Why 25 of them are in the medic office, I'm not sure. Nothing to do for them.
The only place that we could find shelter was actually in the medic's office.
Olson, who broke her pinky, remembers spotting the cops in the medic office that night.
The police officers were sitting over here at the table eating their dinner.
Even snagged a little video.
They were all sitting at the table eating their dinner while we were all trying to find shelter.
As phone calls flooded into Jeffco's 911 center,
and I can tell a lot of people have been talking. Some people are saying they're bleeding from the hail.
Erickson texts Bowman. He's not sure why West Metro Fire declared the event a mass casualty incident. Again, not bad at all. In fact, I wouldn't have called a medic on the street for them in the condition they were in. So minor. Guess next time they tell them to seek shelter, they will go to their cars, he wrote.
There was no way to know that there was hail coming down from the warnings that we received.
At the end of the day, White Brunetti suggests her team should meet the next morning. I think we should expect some fallout, especially from those who were injured. Ahead of the next night's Shaky Grave show, the venue spokesman tells the group 1,500 fans are already scanned in. Molly Wink, assistant director of Arts and Venues, writes, are they wearing helmets? Too soon? That got a few laughs in the text thread, but Kaya is not one of them.
I don't think they took it seriously enough. And I just hope that they do better and pay attention to the weather and do their jobs, because I feel like they didn't do their jobs that night.
Something like that.
In a statement today, Red Rocks told us a review of the messages they originally didn't want to release to us shows that city employees and other local agencies were doing their best to manage a turbulent and quickly developing weather event. They are looking at new fan-facing communications about storm threats for next year's concert season. The city fought us in court over the release of these text messages, claiming that they weren't public records because they were on private cell phones, which the city doesn't maintain. A judge ruled in our favor that public business is your business, regardless of what device it's communicated on, Kyle.
Yeah, methinks, Steve, that they were not particularly worried about these Red Rocks messages getting out. But now I'm curious what other public business City of Denver employees are doing on their personal cell phones to to hide it from the public.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this. We were looking to see what was going on. Was there some sort of policy happening? These text messages don't reveal a lot about any failures necessarily that happened that night. I don't even know if they would have been newsworthy had we not had to go to court to get them because they are public records. So it'll be interesting to see what this does for other journalists down the road who want to see things that city employees are saying to each other on those private phones.
Right now, they're all out frantically buying ham radios. Steve Sager, thank you. One of Colorado's most troubled school boards has a new president tonight, a president that keeps the conservative majority in charge of Dougco schools.
I will be tendering my resignation at the end of this meeting to resign as a board member effective tomorrow.
Board President Mike Peterson resigned at the start of tonight's meeting. His resignation is effective tomorrow. Peterson previously told colleagues that he would resign by the end of the year. He appears to be moving. Emails show that he sold his home, but he's kept a rental in the district, which allowed him to keep the seat until his resignation. Otherwise, it would have been vacated immediately. This week, another board director, David Ray, who's outgoing, he's in the board minority, he said that Peterson should abstain from voting on the new board president, who's likely to be the tiebreaker when they select Peterson's replacement. Peterson said he wasn't going to recuse himself. He wanted to ensure a smooth transition of power. And smooth it was to Christy Williams. She's a member of the conservative board majority. She won the presidency thanks to Peterson's vote. She can now cast the tie-breaking vote to put a fellow conservative on the board when Peterson's gone.
Their whole life has been disrupted for the last 48 hours.
Homeless advocates say just the threat of a sweep became a safety risk for an encampment, even if the city didn't do it today. And volunteers step in to repair a place of peace for grieving parents because vandals hit right before a special gathering. Colorado's only oil refinery keeps putting pollution into the air, and now an environmental group is taking the EPA to court to stop it. The Center for Biological Diversity is suing the EPA for greenlighting Suncor's air quality permit. The latest lawsuit claims that regulators renewed Suncor's permit to pollute without addressing concerns about transparency. They want the EPA to reconsider. Suncor has faced repeated fines over its pollution issues. Over the last year, Suncor has regularly self-reported releases of cancer-causing chemicals into the water and hazardous chemicals into the air and crude oil into the ground. With cold weather expected over the next few days, the city of Denver is activating its overnight severe weather shelters. But people living on the streets at one encampment woke up this morning expecting to be swept from the site without an offer of shelter elsewhere. The folks camped near Colfax and I-25 got a notice this week that their tents were encroaching on a public road. A posted notice told them to remove their items in 48 hours. When this morning's deadline rolled around, nobody showed up from the city to enforce the order. Homeless advocates say the panic over a potential sweep meant that people were spending precious time packing instead of preparing for the frigid cold.
My fear with that is that people would not be able to set up their camps quickly enough to make themselves safe tonight before the severe weather hit. And so, I mean, we're running into issues around frostbite in that case, right? People get frostbite and then they end up in the hospital.
Denver's overnight cold shelters are going to be at the New Directions Hotel and the Doubletree Hotel off Quebec. Chris Bianchi, how cold are we talking?
We're talking lows around 20 degrees, and Kyle, I believe that's right around the threshold where they will open those overnight shelters there. So we're going to be around 20 degrees over the next few nights. Next week, it does warm on up considerably. It does stay cloudy and chilly for us, though, here in the metro area for tomorrow. We could see a few flurries, but the mountain snowfall, I think that's the main takeaway statewide in terms of our weather over the next day or so. Observed highs, we only got up to 40 today in Denver. We were at 59 yesterday, 30s and 40s for the most part across the state. Winter weather advisory for us in southwestern Colorado. That's where we could see 5 to 10 inches of snow above 8,500 feet in elevation. That's most of the passes and the ski resorts. And then the northern mountains, we get our snow this weekend, Saturday and Sunday is when we'll see that snow move its way into, say, Rabbit Ears Pass, Steamboat, the Park Mountains. That's when we'll see that snow move its way in that direction. Meantime, as we head over the next few hours, that light snow that we're seeing mainly across southwestern Colorado now, that pushes north and east as we head over the next 18 to 24 hours. And most of the mountains will be looking at least some light to moderate snow for the day tomorrow. And that snow will continue piling up. Watch the northern mountains, though, as we get into the weekend. That snow will really pick up in that direction for both Saturday and Sunday. In the meantime, the majority of this over the next 24 hours. 7-day forecast. Temperatures on the cold side for us here in Denver. The thing to watch for this weekend, at least here in the metro area, will be the wind. Could be talking about 60+ mile-an-hour wind gusts for us in the foothills for both Saturday and Sunday.
The people that did the damage, they're nothing. This is what we are.
And that's why they're repairing a space for grieving parents just ahead of an important holiday gathering. The trees in Parker's Angel Memorial Garden stand in remembrance of children lost. It's a peaceful place for their families to remember. Vandals chopped down some of those trees last weekend, just ahead of the garden's annual memorial gathering. And that didn't sit right with the community.
Coming out here is very comforting. When the workers aren't here and the trucks are gone and you're out here by yourself, it is so peaceful. It's just a lovely, healing place. Are you Gary Osco? I need to hug you.
How are you doing, sweetie?
Oh, so the trees that are here around the memorial were donated by and dedicated by families who have lost children.
I have a grandson. His name's Stephen Thomas Osco Jr. This is his plaque. This is a place that I get to come and visit with my grandson. By all rights, we shouldn't even have to be out here because somebody wanted to do things that aren't cool.
We were vandalized and our trees were cut down.
I cried a little. I was mad as hell.
You know, these are more than just trees. I mean, even if they were, like killing a live, healthy tree is just senseless.
I want it fixed. I want it back to the way it was. I want to be able for other people to come out here and grieve and talk.
So there are 5 new trees going in to replace the ones that were taken down.
To be a part of this is everything. I mean, literally, it's everything. It's the world to me. I've cried on and off for 3 days now. You know, it's hard for me to be out here doing what we're doing, but it feels so damn good to be out here doing what we're doing. I'm doing it for my grandson, but I'm also doing it for every child's name on this wall. There's a lot of children here, a lot of children here. So they all deserve this.
Man, we're good neighbors, huh? Garden's holding their annual candlelight memorial this Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Here comes your feedback. Video editor Marco. How about that? Guest star, baby, guest star. We'll have your feedback next. Feedback tonight from Sylvia says, love next. I just don't get the newly added feature of staff members handing you scripts on camera and without a thank you on camera. Sylvia, I hope that I thank everybody. If I've ever forgotten to thank somebody, that's on me. Here's a backstory on that. So every night I'm collecting your feedback, what I see via email and social media during the show, but I miss things because I'm talking to you as well. So folks on staff keep an eye out for other things I might have missed and they bring them in. For years, we've done that during a commercial break, and somebody suggested, well, we could just kind of do it at the end, and then people would see who's here, who's working. I kind of liked it. It felt transparent to me. Plus, you got to meet our video editor, DeMarco, tonight. I don't know. That was kind of cool. I got to keep saying thank you to people, though. A note tonight that says, is the pride flag exclusionary? This is about that lawsuit in Denver Public Schools. I've never, as a straight guy, felt excluded by the pride flag. It seems like a joyful, inclusive thing, but I'm also not looking to be a victim all the time.